Hey, Shalom, Akam, Shalom. First and foremost, I want to say call hello, Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakah HaKodash. Send double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. I want to send much peace, love, and salutations to you, Akim, out there, pushing the word of Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, sincerity and truth. This is the brother Ariala. And on this lesson, we're going to do another stories of victory out of the scriptures. And today, what we're going to read about is the story of the Ark of the Covenant being taken away from us. When you read in the book of First Samuel, the fourth chapter, it's the story of us as we're going through our battles with the Canaanites and our wars with the Philistines and everything like that. The Ark of the Covenant was taken, and just reading this story and seeing the power of Yahweh, the power of Yahweh Shemel Shai against our enemies is a very, very good and encouraging story of victory, even though things seem gloom. Now, first, before we get to reading that, I just want to read a little bit about the Ark of the Covenant. I'm just Google something simple. This is on Bible study tools, and if of course if you want to go read more, you can go and study. But I'm gonna read this part. It says the Ark of the Covenant in the Bible in Exodus 25:10. Moses receives the command to build an ark of acacia wood. I don't know if I'm saying that right. Within this ark were to be placed the tables of the law, which the Most High was about to give to Moses. Upon the top of the ark, probably not as a lid, but above the lid, was a golden plate upon which two cherubims with raised wings and facing each other covered the ark. From the place between the two cherubim, the Most High promises to speak to Moses as often as he shall give him commands in reference to the Israelites. The ark was designed to be a symbol of the presence of the Most High in the midst of his people, is the common teaching of the Old Testament. This place on the lid was also referred to as the mercy seat. Once a year, a priest would enter the holy tent, right? We talk about the holies of holies on the Day of Atonement, right? He would enter to the holy tent and sprinkle blood from a sacrificed animal to atone for the sins of Israel. This old covenant on the Day of Atonement is no longer needed as Yahweh Shah HaMashiach became a new covenant in which his sacrifice on the cross was a complete atonement for sins. And so when we read this, we see the importance of the Ark of the Covenant and how it's a symbol of us being able to have the presence of the Most High with us being able to get forgiveness of the Most High and receive instructions through the Levites, who were the only people who were allowed to deal with the Ark of the Covenant. It was kind of our access to be able to, you know, have a communication with the Heavenly Father. So it's extremely important. And so I want to come and read about this story here in First Samuel 4. We'll read a few chapters and get this whole story. Lord willing, this is just eye-opening or edifying. And I'm going to read it in the NLT, and maybe other brothers might come up with something from this. This is First Samuel chapter 4, verse 1. It says, and Samuel's word went out to all the people of Israel at the time Israel was at war with the Philistines. The Israelite army was camped near Ebenezer, and the Philistines were at Apic. The Philistines attacked and defeated the army of Israel, killing 4,000 men. After the battle was over, the troops retreated to their camp, and the elders of Israel asked, why did the Lord allow us to be defeated by the Philistines? Then they said, let's bring the Ark of the Covenant of the Lord from Shiloh. If we carry it into battle with us, it will save us from our enemies. Right? It says so they sent men to Shiloh to bring the Ark of the Covenant of the Lord of the Heavens armies, who is enthroned between the cherubim. Hophni and Phinehas, the sons of Eli, were also there with the Ark of the Covenant of God. When all the Israelites saw the Ark of the Covenant of the Lord coming into the camp, their shout of joy was so loud it made the ground shake. So people coming in, you got these huge troops. They see the procession with the Ark of the Covenant coming in, And it's that this idea that, okay, the Most High is with us. Okay, so they're what's going on? The Philistines asked. What's all the shouting about in the Hebrew camp? When they were told it was because of the ark of the Lord had arrived, they panicked. The gods have come into their camp, they cried. This is a disaster. We have never had to face anything like this before. Help! Who can save us from the mighty gods of Israel? They are the same gods who destroyed the Egyptians with plagues when Israel was in the wilderness. So you can see that beatdown that the Most High gave the Egyptians as we exited out of Egypt. All the nations round about knew of the fame, and that's why they called Yahweh al-Shaddai, which means like a terrible demon-like power, because the Most High was destroying our enemies before us. And so that fame of what happened to the Egypt with Moses was all throughout the lands. And so now the Philistines are worried that they're going up against that power. Verse 9 says this: fight as never before, Philistines. If you don't, we will become the Hebrew slaves, just as they have been ours. Stand up like men and fight. So they encourage themselves like, look, if we don't fight our hardest in this fight, that's it for us. We through. Okay? Verse 10 says, so the Philistines fought desperately, and Israel was defeated again. The slaughter was great. 30,000 Israelite soldiers died that day. The survivors turned and fled to their tents. The ark of the Most High, the ark of God, was captured, and Hophni and Phinehas, the two sons of Eli, were killed. A man from the tribe of Benjamin ran from the battlefield and arrived at Shiloh later that same day. He had torn his clothes and put dust on his head to show his grief. Eli was waiting beside the road to hear the news of the battle, for his heart trembled for the safety of the ark of the Most High. When the messenger arrived and told what had happened, an outcry resounded throughout the town. What is all this noise about? Eli asked. The messenger rushed over to Eli, who was 98 years old and blind. He said to Eli, I have just come from the battlefield. I was there this very day. What happened, my son? Eli demanded. Israel has been defeated by the Philistines, the messenger replied. The people have been slaughtered, and your two sons, Hophni and Phinehas, were also killed. And the ark of God has been captured. When the messenger mentioned what had happened to the ark of God, Eli fell back from his seat beside the gate. So, he heard about his sons dying, but then hearing the Ark of the Covenant was taken, that hit him even harder. So it says that Eli fell backward from his seat beside the gate. He broke his neck and died, for he was old and overweight. He had been Israel's judge for 40 years. So what a way to go. Now, Eli's daughter-in-law, the wife of Phinehas, was pregnant and near her time of delivery. When she heard that the Ark of the Covenant had been captured and that her father-in-law and husband were dead, she went into labor and gave birth. She died in childbirth. So they're just having tragedy after tragedy after tragedy. Hit after hit. You have 4,000 men be taken out. Then 30,000. Amongst that, the sons of the judge of the Israelites is gone. Plus the Ark of the Covenant has been stolen. Then that very judge that's kind of ruling over Israel at that time, he falls and dies. All right. Then his grandson comes in the world, but the mother dies. Just a very sad, bleak situation. Okay. So verse 20 says she died in childbirth, but before she passed away, the midwives tried to encourage her. Don't be afraid, they said. You have a baby boy. But she did not answer or pay attention to them. She named the child Ichabod, which means, where is the glory? For she said, Israel's glory is gone. She named him this because of the Ark of the Covenant had been captured and because her father-in-law and husband were dead. Then she said, the glory has departed from Israel, for the Ark of the Covenant has been captured. And we know, women, they always they tend to show lack of faith. All right. But this is an expression of how sad it was at the scene at that time, man. She passed on, had the son, and kind of named him in that sad spot. Israel's glory is gone. It's a heavy name. So let's go to the next chapter. Keep reading. Gets interesting. Now, we're going to see it from the Philistine side, their perspective. 1 Samuel chapter 5 verse 1 says, after the Philistines captured the Ark of the Covenant, they took it from the battleground of Ebenezer to the town of Ashdod. They carried the Ark of the Covenant into the temple of Dagon and placed it beside an idol of Dagon. All right. Now, Dagon is that fish head god. Okay. One of the idols of the Canaanites of the Philistines. So they're going to set this idol next to the Ark of the Covenant. All right. It says, but when the citizens of Ashdod went to see it the next morning, Dagon had fallen with his face to the ground in front of the Ark of the Covenant. So they took Dagon and put him in his place again. But the next morning, the same thing happened. Dagon had fallen face down before the Ark of the Covenant again. This time, his head and hands had broken off and were lying in the doorway. So the Spirit of the Heavenly Father wasn't having that. All right, it wasn't going to be met with idols, and that's also in was it? I want to say Wisdom of Solomon, where it talks about the incommunicable name of Yahweh. All right, and you can't be matched with no other gods, lowercase g gods, right? It says only the trunk of his body was left intact. We're at the bottom of verse 4, right? It says, that is why to this day neither the priest of Dagon nor anyone who enters the temple of Dagon in Ashdod will step on its threshold. Then the Lord's heavy hand struck the people of Ashdod and the nearby villages with plagues of tumors. So they was all struck with plagues. All right? Let's get the word. Plagues of tumors. So that word plague here, let's see if I clicked the right thing. Right? Paul, right? It says heel, mouth, fort, stronghold, tumor, hemorrhoids. All right? So he was turning they assholes inside out. Giving them like cancer of the intestines, man. Let's see if there's even more in this root. Let's see. The root word there of Paul. To lift up, swell, to be bold, swell, heedless, show heedlessness. Okay, it says probably a tumor in the Assyrian. Yeah. So basically just giving them, just tearing their guts up, turning their assholes inside out. Oh my goodness, that's funny. It was tearing them up, okay? Verse 7 says, when the people realized what was happening, they cried out, we can't keep the Ark of the Covenant of Israel here for any longer. He is against us. We will all be destroyed with Dagon, our God. So they called together the rulers of the Philistine towns and asked, what should we do with the Ark of the Covenant of Israel? The rulers discussed it and replied, move it to the town of Gath. So they moved the Ark of the Covenant of Israel to Gath. But when the ark arrived at Gath, the Lord's heavy hand fell on its men, young and old, and struck them with a plague of tumors. And there was a great panic. So everybody's sick, everybody hurt, all the men. So they sent the Ark of the Covenant to the town of Ekron. But when the people of Ekron saw it coming, they cried out, they are bringing the Ark of the Covenant of Israel here to kill us too. The people summoned the Philistine rulers again and begged them, please, send the Ark of the Covenant of Israel, of God of Israel, back to his own country, for it will kill us all. So the Spirit of Yahweh Shem El-Shai is bringing sickness, plague, and death on these heathens for having the audacity to put their hands on something, which only the priests were supposed to handle, the Levites. So you see, it's bringing those curses. It says, "For the deadly plague from the Most High had already begun, and great fear was sweeping across the town. Those who didn't die were afflicted with tumors, and the cry from the town rose to heaven." So everybody in the town sick, hurt, praying to their weak God Dagon for it to stop, and it's doing nothing but getting worse. But they understand that Yahweh, the power and the power of of the nation of Israel, is the real power, is the real Most High God. Okay, and they know now, even today, Yahweh Bashem Yahushua is the one running things. Okay. Chapter 6 says that the ark of the Lord remained in the Philistine territory 7 months in all. Then the Philistines called in their priests and diviners and asked them, "What should we do about the ark of the Lord? Tell us how to return it to its own country." "Send the ark of the covenant of Israel back with a gift," they were told. "Send a guilt offering so the plague will stop. Then, if you are healed, you will know it was his hand that caused the plague." "What sort of guilt offering should we send?" they asked. And they were told, "Since the plague has struck both you and your 5 rulers, make 5 gold tumors and 5 gold rats, just like those that have ravaged your land." So, man, think about that. Okay, make these things to show honor to the God of Israel. Perhaps then he will stop afflicting you, your gods, and your land. Don't be stubborn and rebellious as Pharaoh and the Egyptians were. By the time the Most High was finished with them, they were eager to let Israel go. So don't have to be hard-hearted like Pharaoh and like the Egyptians. Leave these dudes alone. Okay? It says, "Now, build a new cart and find 2 cows that have just given birth to calves. Make sure the cows have never been yoked to a cart, right? Fresh. Hitch the cows to the cart, but shut the calves away from them in a pen. Put the ark of the Lord on the cart, and beside it place a chest containing gold rats and gold tumors. You are sending it as a guilt offering. Then let the cows go wherever they want. If they cross the border of our land and go to Beth Shemesh, we will know it was the Lord who brought this disaster upon us, Yahweh. If they don't, we will know it was not his hand that caused the plague. It came simply by chance." So these instructions were carried out. 2 cows were hitched to the cart, and their newborn calves were shut up in a pen. Then the ark of the Lord and the chest containing the gold rats and gold tumors were placed on the cart. And sure enough, without veering off in other directions, the cows went straight along the road toward Beth Shemesh, lowering as they went. So that Beth Shemesh was at this time was occupied by the Israelites, right? It says the Philistine rulers followed them as far as the border of Beth Shemesh. The people of Beth Shemesh were harvesting wheat in the valley, and when they saw the ark, they were overjoyed. The ark came into the field of a man named Joshua and stopped beside a large rock, so that the people broke up the wood of the cart for a fire and killed the cows and sacrificed them to the Lord as a burnt offering. Several men of the tribe of Levi lifted the ark of the Lord and the chest containing the gold rats and gold tumors from the cart and placed them on the large rock. Many sacrifices and burnt offerings were offered unto the Lord that day by the people of Beth Shemesh. The 5 Philistine rulers watched all this and then returned to Ekron that same day. The 5 gold tumors sent by the Philistines as a guilt offering to the Lord were gifts from the rulers of Ashdod, Gaza, Ashkelon, Gath, and Ekron. Okay, the 5 gold rats represented the 5 Philistine towns and their surrounding villages, which were controlled by the 5 rulers. The large rock at Beth Shemesh, where they set the ark of the Lord, still stands in the field of Joshua as a witness to what happened here. All right, and so you see the power of Yahweh Shem Yahushua against our enemies here, man. I felt like it was a good story, even though, it's kind of sad the way it started. But the Most High shows that He's with us. And now, when we have read there in the Bible study tools, we have the Yahweh Shai, who has committed Himself as a sacrifice for the elect to be that atonement for us. So he's basically the embodiment of the Ark of the Covenant, man. So as long as we don't lose Him and as long as we stay with Him, He's always fighting for us regardless. And that's why we give Him all the praise and glory, man. So Lord willing, you enjoyed this story, man. I'll try to keep these victory stories going. Got a few written down, so I'll go and read through them, man. With that being said, man, I'll say call hello, Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, Bahashim Rakah HaKodash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone. Much peace, love, and salutations to you brothers out there pushing the glory of Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, in sincerity and truth. Shalom.